This is the original Keihin carb on a Honda C100, basically used on any pre-1966 Cub-style Honda 50, so this is different than what's on a C50 or a C70 or S whatever, but if your bike's model number is seemingly arbitrary and has nothing to do with engine displacement, then you might just have this carb. The reason I'm taking this off is because it's leaking gas from the bowl. There's a screw on the underside that keeps backing out, and the way it's designed, it's not easy to tighten it while it's mounted on the bike. And in my 10 years of owning this bike, there's two things I wish I knew sooner.
Number 1.
Japanese bikes of this time period exclusively use JiS screws. They look like Phillips head, and you can use a JiS screwdriver on Phillips screws, but not the other way around. I mean, you can, but we'll get to that. Combine that with metallic fusion, or whatever you want to call it, and over time, it's easy to strip these screws. And that's what I did with a right angle Phillips I used to tighten it as a quick fix. So I didn't have to take it off, I just slid it under there.
Number 2.
These screws, which are M5 or 5 millimeters wide by 10 millimeters long, have a different thread pitch than modern ISO screws. These are 0.6, not that you can't get different thread pitches, but for this size, typically you're not going to find 0.6. So when you go to the hardware store and you're using one of those things where you figure out what size your screw is and nothing fits, that's why. And by the way, after that, my quick fix was putting a metal clip over the screw so it couldn't back out, and surprisingly, it fixed the problem. But this bike had more issues than that, so if you like videos about motorcycles with issues, strap in and feel the issues.
Oh, Lord.
Even after 60 years, it was really easy to take this off. First, you pull up the air input. That's the choke there. Then unscrew the throttle cable. Inside is a needle. As you twist the throttle, it's pulled out of a hole, which lets more gas flow through. Now, if you have the original toolkit, it covers everything that's visible on the outside of the bike. Everything condensed into this little pouch. There is still gas in the tank, so I just pulled the fuel line and put it straight into the can. These are those ultra rare valuable screws, and if you're looking to buy a JiS screwdriver, number 2 is the most common size, used on Hondas at least. Spoilers, I had to reuse these screws. I couldn't find a replacement. So I'm gonna put this in an ultrasonic cleaner. It's pretty tiny, but it's just big enough for motorcycle carbs. Before cleaning, I took off some crud with steel wool and drew a reference of what does what and how it was positioned. And now I'm tightening each screw and counting how many turns it is. So the throttle is 2 1/4 turns from fully tightened, and when I put it back in, I can start from where I left off. Because, I mean, a lot will be changing on this bike, so I'm probably going to have to do some tweaking. And I'm leaving the needle holder where the throttle needle goes in. There's actually a bunch of little parts I could be taking off, but I'm not having issues with those, so I'd rather not. And actually, this is pretty clean on the inside. I'm not really having any issues with any of it, but, you know, once every 60 years, it's always good to give something a thorough cleaning. This is 1 part cleaner for every 5 parts hot water, and it's about 2 cups of water. There's a max fill line on this device, but once you put your stuff in, you can top it off. It's not like the water is going to be splashing around. And I'm starting with the cleanest stuff first. I got this rebuilt kit just for the rings or the gaskets, but this washer-like ring is not the same as what I got. So I got an O-ring making kit, and there's probably a better way of doing this, but I made the ring in the place where it's going. So it's kind of glued in there, but I'm sure gasket remover will eat that glue, which takes about 2 hours to fully set. Since I couldn't get the right thread pitched JiS screws from putting Loctite on them and tightening it down using screw glue, which is like it's like a gritty goop. This bike had a lot of work done. There's more videos about that, but that's the end of this.